Oh, wait. Did I? Oh, good job, me. I'm kind of scatterbrained today. Hold on. There we go. Now that I'm on here, let me turn off my music. Let me mute my alerts. I don't have the bonker today. I don't have... I want to keep this as, like, as personal as I can, I think might be the best way to put it. Hi, Squeaky. I read through the document today and it was a lot. I can imagine this is a shitty situation for you to deal with, and you have my full support. I know we've... Thank you, Pet Mike. And again, thank you. And I wish, if I'm to be, like, a total streamer for a second, I am so happy. No, I'm not happy. That's a lie. I'm grateful. There we go. Thank you, Jester. I'm grateful to see this turnout and that people want to show their support. I wish this wasn't the circumstance. I fucking hate this. And I'm gonna try not to be emotional. Thank you, Emerald. Hello, Kevin. I want to make sure I turned off ads. I have turned off my music, so no chill vibes music, unfortunately. I want to approach this as seriously as I can. I know some people don't like when these sorts of things are done with a VTuber model, because you can't take a pink thing on the internet seriously, I guess. But I have crippling anxiety in front of a camera, and I feel like if I was actually in front of a camera, not only would I break your precious immersion, but, I'm trying to joke, I'm sorry, but, I think I would probably be more of a mess, about this. So, first off, out of courtesy and to also cover bases, because I know that at the end of the day, even though support has been very good so far, Twitter is going to Twitter. Please do not attack ThatDamnCat789 Jake. Do not. I don't want that. Do not go after Runia the Witch. Do not go after Tabletop Obscura. That's not the point. I'm just really sad. And I'm trying to be emotional. Okay. So, for those who aren't aware, I know that I suck at starting things. For a while now, since the beginning of this year, people who have come to my streams who are regulars know that I've talked about it to some extent, but never gave names. I've insinuated, I've hinted, I've had people involved here, who, it was a kind of a if you know, you know sort of thing. But this was sort of talked about. But other than that, I tried to keep names generally withheld, never going into situations that were too personal. Never got to the point of showing DMs and things like that, because I wanted to keep things as private as possible. Because anyone who is aware of my history, I have been here on the internet for a long time. This is not my first rodeo, publicly outing things. Thankfully for that first situation, things are all good and under the bridge now, but that doesn't mean I wanted to do this again. It is very stressful having to go through these sorts of things. Not just collecting, you know, quote unquote, the evidence, but putting it together, putting it together in a concise way while still trying to be courteous, cordial, professional, nice, however you want to put it. I don't want to stoop to that level. I don't want to call names, use buzzwords, whatever. But since the start of this year, I know in the document I said probably since mid 2022. It's probably even earlier than that, and I just didn't want to see the signs. That damn cat, which I'll be referring to later on, from here on in as Jake. Things were getting kind of shaky. And this, I've known Jake for a very long time. I met him back in around 2012, 2013, I want to say. Almost a decade we've been friends. A little bit on the more general acquaintances side for like that first quarter, maybe half of it. And then the latter half, him really integrating into Summoner's Network, we became a lot closer. But point is that like with all of my friends, whether I've known them for a couple weeks to a couple years, I really care about my friends. I always try to be there for them. I've said it before, I'm a very treat people like you want to be treated person. I want people to care about me and want to protect me, and I treat people that way. I am kind. I try to be kind to people. I try to protect people. I can be a bit of a mama bear. I can be sassy, and if you've been here for a long time, you know me. you kind of know me. But Jake, for the most part, has always been volatile. Has always been volatile. One of the things that really got us to be close was a fallout he had with a previous friend, who, without saying their name, was pretty much like was his mom friend. And they had a really bad falling out. He claimed very similar things that he now claims of me, saying that she was emotionally abusive, mentally abusive, held him to unfair standards, didn't pay attention to him, didn't care about him, and those sorts of things. Now he throws all those accusations at me. This was someone who he would tell me that engaging with them, that even sharing a space with them, made him want to kill himself. That even trying to resolve things with this person, the idea made him sick, made him physically sick, made him not want to be online, made him want to delete everything, made him want to kill himself. And every other way you can dress wanting to kill yourself. Every flavor. And it was hard just then, trying to be supportive of, because at the time I was both their friends. At least with the other person, really just wanting to be on good terms with them. And, you know, that person ended up blocking me and removing me, because for the most part I was spending most of my time with Jake. To which, I mean, obviously Jake, I was closer to him, and compared to them both, he was the most emotionally volatile. He's the one that seemed like as if he was the one that made it seem like the world was ending at any moment, and that if he did not have his friends, there was no reason to live. And there were times when I genuinely feared if him going offline was going to be for good. And it was horrible. Fast forward to things. He eventually moved on from that. There's so many messages I didn't want to pull every single one, but I recall there is a message where he would tell me that during his falling out with this person, I was one of the main factors as to that stopped him from ending his life, among other things. And this is also a thing he would like to throw at me a lot. That I was the reason he was still alive. I was the reason he was willing to suffer for things. And put a pin on that willing to suffer things, because this comes back later on. Going into fast forwarding, because obviously all these little things of, again, depressive episodes, anxious episodes, him moving in with his partner in Utah, and having to get a job, and he and I would talk day in and day out on Discord. And this boy did not like working. This boy did not like working with the general public. He hated working retail. And I mean, yes, if you've worked retail, if you've worked customer service, it's not for everybody. It's not easy. It's not hard either. It's not. But either way, I was there to support him day in and day out. We talked about tabletop games, things we enjoyed, how our days were. He was in the Zelda game, and we would talk a lot about Gallon and Polo. That was like our lifeblood. Those times were really happy. At least I thought they were. We would talk about it because, as far as I knew, talking about it made him happy. He would tell me that it made him happy. It made him not think about how much his life sucks. You know, only working 20 hours a week while your partner pays all the bills and all you have to worry about is $400 of rent. His life was so hard. You know, it is what it is. But either way, one of the reasons I also commissioned a fuck ton of art, anyone who's in the Summoners Network knows, well, there's that whole stash. Most of the reason was because it made him happy. I thought it made him happy. It made me happy too, of course. But those sorts of things are so much more enjoyable when you can share it with somebody. And that was something I wanted to share with him, that I cared about him. I loved what we were doing together. That my love language is gifts. It's what I can really narrow it down to. My love language is gifts. And there were times where he got gifts back. Even he would say, because he felt bad that I was the only one getting things, to which I would say, I have a lot more disposable income. It's okay. I don't get these things expecting anything back. That's not how friendship works. When he decided he no longer wanted to work, that he wanted to take on full-time streaming, Jake said he was planning on quitting his job. It was like Office Depot. Office Max? I don't know. One of those. It was retail. Doesn't matter. And I remember he was asking me if it was a good idea. And that he was scared because if he streams full time, what if it doesn't work? What if he doesn't make the money? What if he has to start reaching into his savings? All very valid fears. And I told him, because he asked me for advice what to do. And many times he would ask me for advice. He will say now and go on to say now that the advice I gave him was unsolicited. And while yes, I do like to offer advice, I'm usually pretty careful in either asking if I can give that advice or making sure I say, but you do not have to listen to me. Because at the end of the day, not every piece of advice works for everybody. And in this case, because he came to me, I told him, I'm going to be real, because that's another thing, is that I try to be very honest. I don't think what you're doing is a good idea. You only work 20 hours a week, which is like 4-hour shifts, 4 or 5-hour shifts. He only worked like 4 days a week, so like 5-hour shifts a week, like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, that's math. And I told him, your job seems to like you from what you've told me. You're scared that the constant flow of income is going to stop when you take on full-time streaming. Here's where I can advise you. You meet in the middle. Good ways to meet in the middle. If your job is already fine giving you only 20 hours within 4 days, spread between 4 days, please consider asking them to maybe move you to 2 days a week. That gives you 5 days out of the week streaming full time. If we want to treat this like a full-time job, that's 5 days to stream. If you want to go to the max, you can start with 3 days and build up to 4 and keep it to 4. And you still have 2 days that you would be at your part-time job. 2 days, 1 to 2 days that you would have completely off. That kind of stuff. He didn't like that. He didn't really like any advice that I gave him that didn't come down to, yeah, just do the thing. You can totally do it. I believe in you. Take these huge risks that you are very scared of. No, I tried to approach them realistically. And because I've been faced with these. I know people who have made these tough decisions. And I'm a bit of a paranoid person. I never want to jump guns like that and then regret them later when things kind of crash. And I didn't want that for him, because I knew that if I couldn't take those sorts of things, this boy could not. Absolutely not. While Jake was working and he streamed, he would get upset because his chat wasn't active. He would get upset because the viewer count wouldn't pass like 2 or 3. He would get upset over everything. He would get upset, I didn't get any donations today. I didn't get any subscribers today. I only got 2 follows that day. I only had 1 person inactive in chat and they wouldn't shut up. Things like that. To which I told him, welcome to streaming. Welcome to streaming. You wanna do that full time, you're gonna have a lot of those days. And it only goes up from there though. That's the good news. It only goes up from there. But there's so many people who stream that are in this chat right now who have been there. It goes up. It gets better. He would cut streams short because there were no donations that day. Exactly, Din. He would. He would stream, he would say he was gonna stream for like 2 or 3 hours. And he would cut them after an hour and a half. And he'd be like, no one's typing. I didn't get a donation. I didn't get a follow. I feel like shit. I feel sick. Did he expect to grow an oak tree from a sapling in 1 day? I don't know. But eventually, he didn't listen to me. He just quit his job. He started streaming full time. This is where if I had a toggle for air quotes, I would use it. Even though it'd be kind of inappropriate, but full time, quote unquote. Because he only streamed like twice a week. And if I'm to be sassy for a little bit, I don't know about you, but I don't know any full-time jobs where you only work 2 days a week. Not even 4 hours a shift. That being said, eventually that only became 1 day a week once we started moving into Surging Shadow, which was the Final Fantasy Dungeons and Dragons games that he hosted. So, going into that, I feel like I'm just being very scatterbrained. But I'm also just trying to fill gaps that I can as not as super long-winded as possible. There are so many, yeah. Surging Shadow was good for Jake in that he finally was getting the views, the audience, the engagement that he wanted for all of his streams. And I was really happy for him. Of course I was. One of the reasons Jake got into hosting his own games was because it was fueled by spite. He was jealous of Deco, of Blue. He hated Deco's games. People who have been around for a while know that he dropped from Fairy Tail, which was why we ended up doing Avatar. He had dropped from NetNavi, which is why it became the Yomei show featuring Bug Vader. Until Anthony and Thomel joined. And then Jake eventually came back and then decided to be cross, but not really. And the Warhammer game he initially hosted, that went down with it. Because he assumed that because he was dropping the games that no one will want to be in his game anymore. And he does this a lot too, where he assumes the worst and he assumes that people don't care and then just kind of flips the kill switch on things. Me, Deco, and Will really enjoyed Warhammer. And never get a chance to finish that now because he killed it. That was the first game he killed. Assuming that we didn't want a part of it. He stepped back for a bit from most of Summoners Network while still being in it, and we respected that because obviously he was having conversations about that. Included him talking about how being in the games made him want to kill himself. Are you kind of noticing a pattern here? Everything makes him... This isn't to put his situation lightly, but everything makes this boy want to kill himself. He wasn't having fun. And he, after sessions, when Deco would leave, he would go on tangents about how he hated certain aspects of game, how he wasn't having fun, and several times people were like, why don't you talk to the DM? Why don't you just leave if that's the case, if you're not having fun? And his fears were if he left, no one would hang out with him anymore, no one would care about him anymore, he would lose his friends. That he didn't think Deco would listen to him, that he didn't think Deco could fix the problems, that Deco thinks his system is completely perfect, and that the problems are Jake's. That is the furthest thing. Now, I've thrown a critique here or there about Deco and his games, but if you tell Deco something's wrong, he will do his best to listen to you. I have been DM'd by Deco since 2012. I would not have still been in his games up to this very point if I didn't feel like he was not a DM that did not care about his players. Either way, tensions were getting high with him and Deco at that point. We got some mediators in, and through Jake talking about how, again, game makes him want to kill himself, we decided it was best to cut it. At least Fairy Tail, and we moved on to Avatar. And with NetNavi, we would carry on because we needed a Sunday game. Skyflare, thank you for the follow. I'm sorry that you're coming in at such a serious conversation. Just wait, thank you. And we kind of proceeded with that. Around the time Jake came back to NetNavi, he cited being a little bit better mentally, being more level-headed, having had that time away to kind of focus on himself, things like that. Things seemed fine. He also then, that was around the time Zelda started, and he agreed to join that, and all of that. Sometime later was when Final Fantasy eventually started, and now I can kind of get back to Final Fantasy. I felt like I had to throw all that other stuff there too. But that was kind of the origin story of why Jake decided to take on DMing and streaming games. He looked at what Deco had and thought that he deserved that. instead. It wasn't in a, I want to have what this person has, so I'm going to strive for it. It's, wow, I really don't like that Deco can live off of his streams. So, I'm going to do it to show that I can do it better because I don't think this person deserves what they get. Mind you, Deco had at that time been doing it for 5 years now, and it takes a lot of time to grow an audience. Deco is also disabled and cannot work. And as a result, this is how he makes his money to live. Yeah, looking back, I think that might have made that situation worse. Crazy Fox, you're just a sweet bean, okay? We'll get into a little bit of that. Yeah. But, yeah. So, yeah, just do not blame yourself, Crazy Fox. Don't worry. So, going into Surging Shadow, things were relatively fine. There were some instances with 5 DARPs where it led to me, Jake, and Black leaving. Or Anthony leaving. Just some issues with game. We tried to talk about it. We resolved that. Deco ended up leaving Surging Shadow because DMing a game and then going to the next one was a lot for him, and we understood that. FOMO left because of the same thing. They were in both games. We understood that. And we brought in Din. We brought in the heckin' Din-Dins. Din-Din had been a fan, drawing so much art like Din-Din does. And it was really good. It was really fun. The vibe of the table was very chill. Deco's games are usually very energetic, kind of bombastic and dramatic, and I love that table. That kind of energy gives me energy. It makes me want to match that. I cited that in one of the texts shared in the post when Jake sent me a very loaded message saying that I don't act at his table the way I do at Deco's, so I must hate Final Fantasy. No, it was just a more chiller vibe. I didn't want to draw too much attention away from the other players with me being a goober. For the good first 30-some sessions, I'm remembering, of Surging Shadow, I would come back from work. I would work on Sundays, come back, quickly shower, and then get ready for Surging Shadow. So I was also tired from work. Once I started getting Sundays off, I decided to incorporate them into a stream time. And while I did not come to stream as tired, I still came in with the general notion of this is a more chiller vibe, and this is where I can kind of recoup and focus that energy on playing my character. Again, Jake did not like this, and this seemed to bother him a lot more than he let on. Because as tensions kind of got a bit shaky, as there were some times where I kind of was okay with how game went, maybe a game here or there where I didn't have much fun, he started taking these things more and more seriously and started assuming more and more in bad faith that I was not having fun. As a DM, the way he talks about people on other games is actually infuriating. So we, again, he sent me some loaded messages. He assumed things from me. He would constantly send me messages asking me to give him ideas and trying to pick at my brain. Any DM that I have ever been under knows that after game, I don't really talk. I don't really talk to the DM about stuff after game. I'm kind of still in that processing phase, letting it sink in. Tired, because usually games on the latter half of the day, so latter half of the night, kind of ready to just wind down, maybe go to bed. Don't really want my brain picked at. I kind of want to stew in what just happened and kind of brain rot in my own head before I go to people about it. And even then I don't. Unless it's other players and it's about a ship, because I like shipping. But Jake doesn't like this. He likes talking about it, talking to his players about stuff after game, and that's completely fine. I understand that. I didn't really like doing that. I wasn't super comfortable doing this. And Jake would constantly message me about this. This was from one of my first boundaries that Jake never respected and then started holding against me. When things got into Kugane and in Final Fantasy Surging Shadow, initially, at least as a player, I thought this was only going to be a couple sessions, like 2 or 3 sessions maybe. And then we would be gone. As, again, a couple mansion games. I was down for that. Kugane ended up being around 8 or 9 sessions. But after, like, maybe the second or third, I was fine with taking a back seat. Yes, I was a bit more subdued and laid low. Yeah, there's some games where I was like, I kind of felt like it didn't really do much. But I was fine, because I was having fun watching my friends play their characters and do things. Meanwhile, I'm doing that. I'm getting messages from him. Are you okay? I'm sorry you're not having fun. I'm sorry this isn't fun for you. I'm sorry I'm such a bad DM. And he would say this also after game 2, when I would be like, okay, thanks for session. I'm gonna head to bed now. Have a good night, guys. Sorry you didn't have fun during game. I never said that. I'm just tired. He would also hold that against me. The fact that sometimes I would leave a little bit after game finished, when 90% of the time the first person to ever leave the group chat was him. But he sure did keep count. Not literal count, but he sure did take note of the times when I was just a little too tired to stay. He was always asking for ideas. A lot. And I understand DMs want to hear what their players think, what's in their players' minds. I get it. But I'm the kind of player where, again, I don't like my brain being picked at all the time. Sometimes I just don't have any ideas. Sometimes I'm here for your story. I want to be a part of the DM's story, and I want to see how the DM can incorporate me into things. I kind of always worry that my ideas aren't that great. So I'll give the DM some very basic building blocks, maybe some names of important people, and I want to see what they do with it. But he would constantly ask me things like, well, what do you want to happen in the game? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to give you? What do you want me to have for you? Jake, you're the DM. You're the DM. What do you want from me? And I tried, despite being uncomfortable, I tried to give ideas. Unfortunately, it was during, again, Kugane, where my character is laying low and stewing in a lot of things, and not being a happy cat. And so any thoughts that they had in their head and things they were thinking about were unfortunately not happy. And that was another thing too, is that at this point in Surging Shadow, getting into Trin's head was very, very sad. Trin was going through a lot in his head, in their head. And getting into that every week, getting into a depressed person's head every week and having to be that, it has its toll on you too. It's okay to ask for ideas, but I think he should realize that him being himself and doing the things that he likes might actually get him to where he wanted to be. And that's the thing, because another thing with Jake is that he doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself. He will be very confident on the early games of him being a DM, and as games progress, he loses that confidence for whatever reason. Even though we would tell him, we're having fun, we're enjoying it, we can't wait to see what happens next. He starts assuming and thinking that we're lying. And this makes sense when you also consider that Jake is unfortunately a liar. He is a liar. He lies a lot. And again, he showed a lot of bias towards me. Talking, again, as I mentioned, he would message me if I was okay and apologize to me constantly about game. He had also messaged me of What can we do so that I have fun? If that all I had to do was say the word and we can skip to the end of the arc, we can just say that everybody else did what they wanted to do, and we can just move on to the plot and do what you want to do. And I even told him during our discussions at the end of last year that I did not want that. I did not want that. That was not respectful to my fellow players. And he and I would talk for a while after FF sessions. I would be hype and talking about all the cool stuff that the game had, and he'd smile, nod, and then talk about how Squeaky didn't have fun despite all his hard work and it was a failure of a session. Yeah, he would do that. I had to hear from Lynn and Anthony and even Din that despite them saying that they had fun with the game, he's so sure that Squeaky did not have fun, and as a result, the session is a failure and he has failed as a DM. All because of me. Sounds like love bombing to me, over accommodating for one person. Oh, yeah, no, that is kind of what they would call that, love bombing. Another thing he accuses me of with the Stream Deck, and we'll get to the Stream Deck. So, as we progress through that, I started getting really uncomfortable with things. He started going to therapy and started talking to me less and less, and being in general, when we were able to talk, very distant. And whenever he did talk to me, things were kind of uncomfortable. So I just decided that I would only approach him whenever he approached me and things like that. I still did not like the bias that he put on me towards games. Again, pointing out that he was willing to end an entire arc and essentially cancel, or essentially gloss over what the other players wanted to do, in favor of just moving forward for me. I didn't want that. Early December, late November, early December, he decided to finally leave the Zelda game. After months of not having fun, which then also means months of him telling me that the only reason he was still in Zelda was because of Polo. The only reason he was suffering the agonizing, horrible game that was Zelda was because of Polo. That I was the only reason he was still in this game, because Polo made it so much fun for him when he was able to interact. If you watch Zelda, you can probably count on one hand how many times Galen did anything. We barely did anything. He quit Zelda a long time ago. He just finally left around that time. And it hurt really hard. Obviously, we were supportive. I was quiet at the time because I was busy kind of having a mental moment, because there was also other things going on. There was a death in the family, there was the holidays, there was a lot of things going on, and I didn't want to deal with that at the moment, but I never messaged him about that, any sort of chastise or anything. Never sent him a single thing. After he left the chats, I was just like, I feel like everything I did was for waste, because I would always try to find a way to incorporate him in the game, to interact with his character, to do something that maybe we could have fun with. I felt like I had to do that, because again, he would tell me that I'm the reason he's still here, that I'm the reason he has any sort of fun, that I'm the reason he's willing to put up with all of it. It got to a point where I would tell him, Jake, this isn't the compliment you think it is. You're just telling me that I'm the reason you are suffering. And that's not fair to you. That's not fair to me either. But right now I'm more care about you, because I can have fun in this game still. I can interact with the story and the characters and my other players, but you can't do anything. You refuse to do anything. Telling me that Polo's the reason you're still here. Just tell me that it's my fault that you're miserable, because that would have been the more honest thing. And it, eventually he left. Around that time, I then said, hey, we're close to the end of the year anyway, so can we just not have any more games so that I can recover from the holidays and everything? Wave Lightning 777, thank you for the follow, welcome. And he accepted that. Deco accepted that with all the other games too. Eventually, I got a little bit better quicker than I expected, and I apologized for jumping the gun. And that was when I proposed with the Final Fantasy group, if we could please all sit down and talk about this game. I've been trying not to comment much, but I just need to say, it always stings knowing this when everyone did try, but it was only you that was good. Yeah. And yeah, no, that was that thing too. I would tell him, Emerald, that these things that he's saying is not fair to the other players in Zelda. That him prioritizing me is not fair to the other players in Final Fantasy. That this is too much to put on me. This isn't fair. These were, again, once I started drawing boundaries. And December 11th was when, of 2022, was when I had approached with talking about Final Fantasy. Saying that in lieu of having these games, and with Christmas Day and New Year's Day being on Sundays, and those kind of unanimously being unavailable days, can we all sit down and talk about Final Fantasy? I've had moments where I've not had fun. There are things that I want to ask questions about. I think this would be a great opportunity as a table to come together and sit and talk about what we're looking forward to, what we hope to see, any concerns we might have. I feel like these might be really good times if we can do that in lieu of having game. I would often get a compliment that as a player, I'm easy to please. It never felt like a real compliment because it was usually preceded with, it's hard to think I'm a good DM because Squeaky is obviously miserable. Yes. Yes, Anthony. That was... yeah. Meanwhile, I like you, you're simple, gee, thanks. Meanwhile, I got Din and Lynn together to organize thumbnail groups. I would promote Final Fantasy Surging Shadow. Din would promote Final Fantasy Surging Shadow. I would get special commemorative art for Surging Shadow. I got Jake assets for his stream so that he can polish his stream and make it look a little bit more professional, on par to what even Nat19 has. I had gotten that little dice roll stinger from Spooky for him. I had commissioned a logo for him. I had even paid for some transitions for him. I wonder if I still have the transitional video, because again, I had looked for assets, I had looked for artists, I had looked for anything that I could find, whether it was free or relatively cheap, to help make the game what I felt it had the potential to be. That was something that I would also always tell Jake, that I believed he had a lot of potential, that the only one that was really stopping him from achieving what he could achieve was him. And I'm pretty sure that after a point he hated hearing that. Which sucks, because I was trying to tell him that he is so capable of doing so many awesome things. I still believe this. But he doesn't seem to. And I'm gonna try to find this thing while I keep talking. Trying to find it. Here it is. I got him assets. I even got him a Stream Deck as a gift. And Jake has a really bad habit of never wanting to accept gifts. His anxiety, his low self-worth really do not help him in terms of accepting gifts or kindness from others. And I feel like that's something we can all kind of relate to. We've all been there. We don't feel like we're good enough for gifts and things like that. That doesn't mean you tell people that accepting gifts make you feel like shit. And he would do that a lot too. He did it with Din. He did it a lot with Din. He did it with me. And one of the things that he'll cite as my major love bomb, as the prime example of my abuse, is this Stream Deck, where I got it. I poked him when I helped him get thrown, because I helped him get thrown too. I suggested that if he was worried about how expensive a Stream Deck was, that he could maybe, you know, put a Stream Deck on his throne. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and then maybe someone might get you that Stream Deck. And I got him that Stream Deck. I even have it, like, as the message thing where on the little gift message, I put decked nerd. Like, it was a gift. But he didn't want to call it a gift. It made him feel bad. It made him feel guilty. It made him feel like he didn't deserve it. And I told him, and I was like, well, if this is how you're going to be about it, then we don't have to call it a gift. And he was like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pay you back. I don't know what to do about... And I told him, okay, your concern is you can't pay me back? Okay. So, here's what we're going to do. We will call this an investment. I am investing in you and getting you this Stream Deck. If you want to return my investment, I want you to stream. This should be easy for you because you say you want to do this anyway. Okay? I just want you to try. I want you to do your best. I know you can. And that obviously offered to help him set it up with scenes, buttons similar to mine, because then he started getting anxious that he doesn't know how to work it and things like that. Got me really excited and then kind of knocked the wind out of my sails right away, but that's neither here nor there. Now he uses that Stream Deck to cite how I was abusive. And that was how I used the Stream Deck to pressure him into doing things. And that Stream Deck was the linchpin in my abuse of him. As you'll see in one of the DMs, I even said, man, I regret calling this thing an investment. It was a gift. You didn't want us to call it a gift. That's the only reason I called it an investment in the first place. And you know, his response is, yeah. Because that's what it was. This is a person that despite how often we spent time together and talked together, he refused to call me his best friend. Because that falling out with the person that was kind of like his mom friend that I started this whole thing with, that used to be his best friend. And she had tainted the word of best friend. So he could not call anyone his best friend anymore. And I was like, okay, well, if you can't call me your best friend, that's okay. That's fine. I'm fine with just being called friends, but like, you're the one that brings this up. Do you want me to think of something else you can call me? I don't want to be your mom. That was another thing with this friend. You felt like they were your mom. Like, I'm not here to mommy you. I've always been honest with you. That's why you always come to me. That's what you say you like about me. Do you want to, like, Do you want to like call me like your sis or some shit? Like, I don't know. And he was fine with that. For a while, he would call me his big sis. Mind you, this dude's only like a year younger than me. But I was fine being called like big sis. Again, I was like, you can't call me your best friend? Cool, you can call me big sis. Or you can just call me Squeaky. Do whatever you want. But that was another thing too. Whenever he had bad experiences with people, he like further associates those bad experiences with people, and that becomes other people's problems in the future. It is what it is. But it sucked. Moving back to those conversations though, I also linked 2 VODs, both of Near Replicant. The first VOD that I linked was the one that streamed, it took place on December 11th. I was streaming Nier, and I got stuck in the Airy, and that part of the game that you cannot save. And while I don't go into details of why I wanted to save and leave and that I've got to go, I say that several times, hoping that this will go quickly. I have to go. People are waiting for me, shit like that. That was that conversation. I was only late for about 30-40 minutes. Looking at the time that the stream went over from that period to then, you know, how long would it have taken me to shower and things like that. So maybe about 40 minutes. I go into it in the second Nier video when I reach that same area, and I have a panic attack. And I talk a little bit about it, where that day Jake did not engage really at all with the conversation, where I called him out on his bias against me and how that doesn't work for me or the players. And when we had finally said, okay, then Jake, we've discussed the good, the bad, what we're hopeful for, what do you have to say about things? And the only thing he had to say was, I feel like my time wasn't respected here. I feel like you really disrespected my time and everyone else's time by making us wait for you over half an hour. Mind you, this was a discussion that the only thing we said was around game time. We never set a concrete time. And around this time I was streaming. I always streamed around this time I streamed on Sundays. So I was like, I'm gonna squeeze in a stream. And again, after all this, that's all he had to say, was chastise me for being late, for wasting everyone's time. That I wasted everyone's time. And I took it. Right there, the first thought that genuinely went through my mind that I did not let slip was, wow, fuck you. But I chose not to say that in lieu of, okay, I'm sorry that I made you wait. I didn't know we were supposed to be meeting on the dot. It was something that I could not control, as I told you when I came in. Hey guys, do you feel like I wasted your time? Did you feel like I made you wait needlessly for me? Were you not able to talk about anything before I came into the call? Their answer was no. That they didn't see anything wrong. Oh my god, Krabosi. Thank you. Thank you for the pillow. But... And then the second discussion was a little bit of the same. He didn't really engage or was really a part of it from my recalling. He didn't want to. We were supposed to come back January 8th of this year. But by then, he had sent me the last of loaded messages where he was still volatile. And I had decided No, I don't think you're in a good headspace right now due to how you've been acting lately. I would very much like if we have this conversation another time. I would very much like if we had this conversation with a mediator. I don't want to have this conversation privately with you. I would also probably like it to be recorded for posterity's sake. I do not think you're in the proper headspace to have a serious discussion in good faith. And he did not like that. But mind you, the only reason he even approached me with this message was I was talking to his partner about how I would like to have a talk with him, but I need to first see that he wants to talk. And only after some time, after he's had some space, not long after those messages between me and his partner, did I get messages from Jake. And then all that went down. So, to go into a little bit of depth of why I wanted the conversation recorded, was mainly, again, for posterity's sake. I think that's the word. Essentially, just for safety. If there was any misunderstandings, any mishearings, any miscommunications like that, or I forgot what you said there, or what did you say during this, we would have that recording for records. That was something that not only I agreed we probably needed to do, but also Jake's partner. Essentially a way to make sure that if the conversation had happened and we took the time, we could still listen to that audio to essentially kind of refresh ourselves and keep us in some sort of like understanding. So like, for example, if it was like, Squeaky, you said this during this, it would have been like, I didn't say that. And then you would go back to the conversation. We'd see who's right. Sounds like he should have never been in your life. Nobody needs that kind of stress. We're all human. He was one of my best friends, Lion. And despite everything that's happened, I don't hate the guy. Throughout this year, I still had a lot of love for him. I only wished him the best. I still think he has a lot of potential. This whole situation has made me very, very sad, very, very hurt, very, very upset. Because this person is not the friend I made. This is not the person I made friends with and have been friends with for so long. This person is not my friend anymore. This is a different person altogether. That sounds like a cope, and it very much is, but this person is not my friend. Let me to take a small little breather from this, because again, I had mentioned earlier how I had found some assets for Surging Shadow, and that for those who kept up with it on YouTube, Din and Lynn put together some amazing thumbnails. I had talked with Logan of Nat19 and got a kind of general idea of how like these thumbnails were doing, and we really liked the vibe of how Nat19 did its thumbnails that caught attention, and we wanted to do something like that. So if I can kind of share, because I had gotten, I'm being repetitive, but I had gotten some assets and I wanted to do a similar stinger, kind of in the same general feel of what Nat19 did, but I thought it'd be a really nice professional thing. So if you'll indulge me for a second. Whoa, no. Yeah, no, look at that. Look at that. That's what was gonna happen. That's what was gonna happen. This was gonna be like our starting soon and like our BRB and like our like end thing. If I like using my thing as an example, the transition is from spooky. That's what that was gonna be. And it was super easy. And I was like, Jake, this is so easy. This is 1, 2, 3, like not even 2 minutes. Let's set this up. It'll be so cool. He didn't want to do it. I respected that, but I was sad. He needs a shrink. No, he got a shrink, Night Shadow. He went to BetterHelp. Anywho. After the split, I'm trying to make sure that I'm like, I've gone through most things. After the split, Final Fantasy pretty much died. It didn't come back on the 8th like we had hoped. And a couple days later, I want to say it was on a Saturday. About a week later. We were looking. We were me, Anthony, Lynn, and then we were all talking about Final Fantasy and how, because I think around that time Jake had even left the group chat of his own game. He left it. And we were just talking about it. And I had this feeling in my gut. And I already have access to the Summoners Network, YouTube, to help make sure VODs are scheduled, because sometimes Deco forgets to upload his VODs or schedule his VODs, make sure everything is properly monetized, things like that. That was something that I kind of did on the side. I don't do it much anymore, because Deco's now been really, really good about it. But for a while, I was there to kind of help manage and tidy up all that and set up the playlists and things like that, and tags and stuff. I had a feeling in my gut that day. I went to go check. I was like, let me just check the VODs really quick. Let me check to make sure everything is like scheduled and proper. When was the last session? Like what? And I can't find the VODs. They're all gone. All of Surging Shadow is gone. And I remember I was like, guys, the VODs are gone. I was like, what? What do you mean? I can't find them. Surging Shadow is gone. It's gone. It's not here. I'm looking through all the tabs. It's not here. And it was like, but it was here yesterday. Like, I think, Din, you had said, but I was literally watching, like, last session yesterday. It was here. And I was like, I know. It's not here now. And I remember you asked me if I had asked you, Crazy Fox, if you had downloaded them. Because we were like, oh no. If Din remembers them being yesterday, then how long have they been gone? But like, because we, at that point, Crazy Fox, we weren't sure if we were going to get them back. Because I immediately contacted Deco and said, hey, you need to revoke Jake's access right now. Final Fantasy is gone. I think he deleted them without us knowing. And he did. He admitted that he did. He told Anthony that he did. That he felt it was within his right to do that. Anthony was livid. Din was crying. Lynn, because she speaks with text-to-speech, she was very silent. And then told us in her using her text-to-speech that she needed a moment. And then would then tell us that she was crying too, that she was very upset. For Lynn and Din especially, Final Fantasy was the highlight of their weeks. Lynn, with her issue, is not really invited to a lot of tables, let alone streamed tables. This was something that Lynn really, really loved. And her and Din especially poured so much love into Surging Shadow. Lynn was also essentially the co-DM. A lot of those really cool plot elements and world building, that was almost all Lynn. So she had a big hand in that story too. And Jake deleted all of it. I was finding the one episode I downloaded for that recap art, and I started looking up art, trying to remember the gaps and sort of document even in art form. Yeah. Din was willing to like go as far as she can in her memory banks and redraw everything, and we told her, please no, let's please see if we can get all the VODs back. Thankfully, we got all of the VODs back, because since we would announce like, hey, the VOD up for this Surging Shadow session is up on YouTube, because of all those links, we were able to get it back from YouTube, because they asked for that sort of stuff. We were able to get it back, and thank goodness we were able to get it back, and thank goodness that Crazy Fox archived everything further on top of that in case we couldn't. But That hurt. That hurt. Jake's justification was that, well, it's his content, it was streamed on his channel. But what he really likes to not mention was that the agreement was that the VODs were going to be on Summoner's Network, because that way they could get the most visibility. And in exchange for that visibility and being able to promote it on that through that channel that had a bigger following, that's where he was going to put them. Obviously, Summoner's Network monetary wise, it makes like no money. But that being said, Jake could still get all the donations, all the funds that came in. That was all going to be Jake's money. And people who frequented Surging Shadow and donated a lot of money know that they donated a lot of money. He felt he was entitled to the VODs, that he can just delete them because it was his project, it was his game, and we had no say in what happened to it. We were just the players. We did not agree with that. Some discussions, once Deco got the VODs back, he messaged Jake and said, I'm going to ask you nicely. I want you to talk to your players. I want you to... I've gotten all the VODs back. Depending on your call, I can remove them again, or I can private them. But I need you to promise me you are going to talk to all of your players, and this includes Squeaky. You're going to talk to all of them about what's going to happen with Surging Shadow, and you're going to tell me what we're doing with the VODs. Jake said he would do that, and then immediately proceeded not to. He created a group chat. I was not included in it. I was never messaged about it. He cited that he just could not be around me. And offered Anthony, Din, and Lynn to continue Surging Shadow off stream without me. Both were terms that the players did not agree with. They cited that it felt unfair to the fans. They felt it was unfair to the people who had given their time and a lot of their money to support him. They didn't like the situation surrounding me not being in the game, when I made it very clear that I did not want to quit, that I still wanted to be a part of it, that I was not being given this choice. And to which Jake then said, well, I don't want to keep DMing it anyway. So, but I was going to do it for you guys. So essentially telling them, I was willing to do this thing I completely didn't want to do if you guys told me you wanted me to do it. But now that we know Jake a little bit better, he probably would have used that as a point to, and he has actually. He has talked to other people in the past, people that he did tell about this game, that the players were forcing him to run a game he didn't want to run. That's Surging Shadow. He had told some people about that. Either way, after that discussion and him going back on his word, Deco said, you didn't really do as you promised. But what do you want me to do with these VODs? To which Jake said, you can keep them. They belong to Summoner's Network. So, that's why we say that Summoner's Network owns Surging Shadow. Because upon relinquishing those VODs, he has relinquished it to Summoner's Network. Surging Shadow, Final Fantasy Surging Shadow, does not belong to Jake. He may have ran the game, but he did not write every single aspect. He did not create every single character. I mentioned earlier that Lynn had a big hand in writing a lot of the world building and some of the characters. Din did a lot of the art. It was a group project. It felt like it belonged to the group, not just him. but he swears that it was his and that we shouldn't have had a say in it, but it doesn't matter now because it's not his. Things were relatively quiet. Here and there, I would hear about things that Jake was doing, and I'm just trying to live my life. This is where his partner mostly comes in. His partner is Mr. Pendulum 47. I will be referring to him by his name, Grant. Grant was someone that I always thought was a pretty reasonable guy. A bit of an engineer brain, but I thought was a pretty reasonable guy. And I don't think he's a bad guy. Obviously, he cares about his partner. I'm not going to say that he does not. He does some questionable things. When Jake had cut contact with me, and I had filled people in, the people that mattered, almost all of them told me the same thing. That I should not contact Jake. That Jake needs to come to me. That I have always been the one to apologize, to start the conversation, to anything. And Jake never did. And that if Jake really cared about this friendship, he needed to show that he cared. And the longer he took to say anything, the more it meant he did not. And that was a reality I never really wanted to admit to myself and accept. I kept telling myself, no, maybe for my birthday he'll contact me. Maybe for summer he'll contact me. He never did. He still hasn't. Instead, he proceeded to leave every server that we shared except for one because of an artist I introduced him to. He even left servers that I wasn't even in, but Din was in them. Because he even servers that Din was in, he would leave. Servers that I wasn't even in. Citing that even Din was starting to make him uncomfortable. Didn't he try to make a fuss in the... I put a pin in that, but I don't want to bring up names, Crazy Fox. I'm trying to avoid as much splashback as possible, so I don't want to refer to things by name. So I don't know how to delete comments. So I'm instead... That works. Thank you. It's okay. No, you don't have to. It's okay. It's okay. We'll get to that though. Around March, April, late March, early April. Again, things were relatively quiet, never messaged me. We were in the same free company in Final Fantasy XIV. I don't want to say the name of the free company because I don't want to involve those people in there. They don't deserve that. They're all very nice people. There was a map night, and I wanted to join it. I wanted to see what it was like. I had, by that time, finished Endwalker, and I wanted to know what it was. I wanted to see what it was. Anthony and Lynn told me they were fun, and I reserved a spot, and we joined and we had fun. Around that same day, Jake left the free company and the free company server. I had then learned, to which I immediately blamed myself because everything was fine until that. So of course it had to have been me. I learned later on through my partner Jester, that that Grant had at some point, actually there's something in between this. We left it there. Around this time, Jake hadn't blocked me or banned me from anything. He still had the Gallon emote, the little Gallon Pocky emote that I had gifted, so that we can kind of both promote our channels with it. I thought it was a cute thing. I saw he had still had that emote, and I kind of held out hope that maybe he didn't hate me. And I saw that I could still renew my sub, and I renewed my sub. I thought this was harmless. Apparently it was not. I was told it was not. And I immediately apologized. I immediately stated why I did what I did. Obviously I didn't want to make it worse by messaging Jake said apology. I had learned about it because Grant had sent Anthony to tell me not to interact with Jake's stream, to which I said, man, Anthony, you are not a messenger boy. And because I was, at this point, kind of scared to talk to Grant myself, I had asked my partner, Tristan, to please relay an apology. This is where I hear that chat was relayed to me, that not only did this incident anger Grant so much that he wanted to physically hurt me, but he disclosed and leaked chats between another moderator and Jake about what they were going to do with me being in the server for the guild, because Grant, being his partner, had a bias and couldn't make that call, so he got the other mods involved and eventually brought it to a specific mod that he thought would kind of, quote, get the job done. Whatever the job was, you can infer for yourself. I'm gonna assume that the job was to get rid of me. Because when said mod talked to Jake, that was pretty much what the conversation was. Jake saying that he could not bear to see me in the same space, that seeing me seeing me just in the chats, seeing me in the calls made him physically sick. He could not exist sharing this space with me, and that he could just leave or something can be done about me. But because I had not misbehaved in any way in the server, and because this drama was outside of the guild, nothing can be done. So he gave up and chose to leave. I had given benefit of the doubt that he wasn't trying to actually get me to leave or get me kicked out, because it was cited that no, he was trying to see if maybe we could do something about the map nights, about separating the groups so that we wouldn't be in the same group. But explain why he even mentions not being able to share the same space as me. That's still sharing the same space, that thing he's very adamant he doesn't want to do. So there goes your argument. Either way, that passed. I left it alone. There were still times I talked with Grant, and Grant very much was the only person that tried to push me to talk to Jake. We had several hours-long talks, mostly 3 to 4 hours, one of which is recorded. That was the last long conversation we had in voice call. I recorded it for posterity's sake. He agreed that it was a good idea so that we can reference back to it. I have that link to an unlisted video in the document, where it's also cited there that he is looking at my Twitter. He is looking at my Twitter, he is taking my tweets, and he is showing it to his partner, who wants nothing to do with me. Showing him tweets that he thinks alludes to him, whether directly or indirectly. Any tweets that I might have said that were in reference to him, I made sure to never include his name. One of the ones that was mainly brought to attention was a post, I remember, of being grateful to artists who make you art. I remember I quote retweeted that post with, "Yeah, I know someone who told an artist friend of mine that getting free art from her made him feel like shit." Yes, that was a reference to Jake, because yes, that happened. And yes, that is someone hurting my friend. Anyone who knows Din knows that this is giving art as her love language. You cannot control that. That is Din. But this is something that I would tell him to his face if he had let me. And at some point after that conversation, we would talk about Jake, and many things he agreed with me on. I would point things out. Is it fair that he does X, Y, and Z, but that he accuses me of X, Y, and Z, but he does it to me? How he doesn't like when people do this, but when he does it, it's okay. This double standard is not fair. And Grant would agree that that wasn't fair. And then the next day, it's like this conversation didn't happen. And suddenly I am as bad as Jake said. I am as bad as Jake's therapist said. I am as bad as all of that. Like, this conversation didn't happen. It was through a really bad mental breakdown that I just stopped talking to him altogether. And Grant would also go and slander me to my friends. Mostly Lynn and Anthony. The biggest one that I know of being Lynn, where he would go on diatribes about how awful and toxic and abusive I am. And they were bad. I never saw those logs, unfortunately, but Lynn told me it was pretty bad. And when he was talking to Tristan, that he had heard about what was happening with the Final Fantasy Guild, he had also disclosed that he was Chester. Yeah, Tristan is Chester. And will be referred by Chester.
You can go either way.
Yeah. I might switch because it's habit. Grant had divulged to Jester that he was still stalking my Twitter, and that he could only see he couldn't stalk my Twitter before as much because I had blocked both his accounts, so he had someone else watching my Twitter. To which Jester told him, "Don't you know that's stalking?" And on top of that, Grant was not only stalking my Twitter, but showing, again, my tweets to his partner, who, again, wanted nothing to do with me, who, according to him, being reminded of my existence made him physically sick. He would do this to his partner. I could not tell you why he thought this was a good idea. I don't think it is, but there you go. So there would be times where I would just post something on Twitter. Would it be in reference to him? Most likely not after a while. Why admit to this? That's a great question, Arad. I could not tell you. But we've got the logs there too. Jester has them. If he ever wants to give me those, I can add those to the document too. But he admitted to that. He admitted to getting someone to doing that. He even admitted it to Anthony, that he was still doing that. Everyone telling him, stop looking at her Twitter. Stop showing her Twitter to Jake. Why are you doing that? And it almost felt like every other week to every month I would get something from somebody. Mostly Anthony, because Anthony was the little messenger boy for them. That Squeaky said something, Squeaky did something, and it's upset Jake. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? That's not even in reference to Jake. What are you talking about? Oh, the fact that I'm poking fun at the fact that I have a Twitter stalker? That offends them? Like, what? I don't understand. And things generally eventually quieted down, died down, whatever. I started somewhere halfway through the year learning Pathfinder. Wanting to just in general get better at TTRPGs. And through mutual people that I follow, whose streams I watch, I had found Runia the Witch. I had gifted her a sub to someone's channel, a mutual person that she and I were following. I had seen her in the chat a couple times, and I was like, I recognize this name. I'm gonna gift her a sub, and I'm gonna check her out. And I did. I caught one of her streams. I noticed she was doing Pathfinder stuff. Well, I'm learning Pathfinder stuff, so I'm gonna shoot her a follow and gift her some subs. because I like supporting smaller creators. And things were fine. I engaged in her chat. It was really cool. The first time, I didn't see Jake in that chat. And it was fine. The second stream I caught, I noticed Jake was in her chat, but I left it generally low there. And that was fine. The third time I caught her stream, that's when I learned I was banned. I still got the notification on my phone, but I was banned. The first two instances, Jake was not a mod. The instance that I learned I was banned, Jake suddenly is. And I mean, I connected some dots. Fair to assume that once me and Lynn looked a little more into it, we learned that Runia had in fact collabed with Jake in some things, and it was like, okay, well, it's fair to assume they're friends. And it's fair to assume that maybe Jake said some things and got me banned. Well, there's not much I can do. That's sad. I thought this person seemed pretty cool. I stayed away from their Discord when I saw that Jake was in her chat and thought to respect that, but it doesn't matter anyway because I was banned. I ended up sending her Runia a message on Discord because I saw that we did share a mutual server through someone else, and said, hi, thank you for the time you allowed me to be in your server. I'm sorry if you were dragged into anything that you had nothing to do with, or whatever my message says. The screen cap of that is also in the document, and I left it at that. In the end of the day, Runia was most likely acting in good faith, with good intentions to protect our community and her friend, and that's fine. It's sad, but it's fine. Just really bad coincidence. And then we come not yet to today, just a little bit before that. Around the time when Runia banned me and I learned of all that, I messaged Grant. I didn't want to. I was advised not to, but I messaged Grant. And I said, hey, I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. Your partner, I am pretty sure, has gotten me banned off a community that I had just joined, that there was no issue with. And I don't quite like that. I am just trying to exist in a space. I am just trying to engage in a community that I want to learn about and be a part of. And I am being ostracized and kicked from communities before really getting my foot in the door. And I don't think that's fair. I have not done that to him. I have never planned on doing anything like that to him. I have never kicked him from servers. I have never lambasted his name and told people to ban him or anything like that. This is not fair. Also, just cause I know you've been stalking me, I hope that you have stopped stalking me. Please do something about this in terms of talking to your partner, because the next time this happens, I am going to be forced to do something I do not want to do. I do not want to have to go public with this. I am scared of your partner and what they're willing to do to themselves, because your partner is very suicidal. I do not want them to hurt themselves. I am scared. That scares me. And it feels like punching down. I don't want to do that. First off, they denied stalking me. Something along those lines. They denied stalking me. I probably should put that in the document now that I think about it. They denied that. They said that they don't stalk me anymore, to almost outright denying stalking me, and that Jake had nothing to do with me being banned from Runia's community. But that makes no sense then. Why would you just ban somebody who amicably came into your chat and followed you and engaged? Like, unfortunately, there's no VOD to look back on, and I regret not screen capping things, but I just spent time in her chat, just talking and engaging, the game she was playing, things like that. I want to believe normal, amicable conversation. Second stream, she was going over tabletop stuff you find on Drive RPG for free. And I was even discussing with someone else in her chat. And it was fine. And suddenly I'm banned, and the person that I know would have had a hand in it is suddenly a moderator. I'm sorry. I don't have any reason to believe that this person, that your partner did not have a hand in it. I have no reason to believe Jake didn't have a hand in that. I'm sorry. I may be kind of dumb, but I wasn't born yesterday. Either way. So there was that. Now we are led to today, where last night I had learned that I was banned from Tabletop Obscura. A recent stream I had of Pathfinder, where I even linked says VOD in the stream, I was talking about the remaster that had come out, and Tabletop Obscura found me. They followed me. And they offered to help me if I ever had any questions for them about Pathfinder. Anthony even says in the stream that Tabletop Obscura is a pretty prominent member in the homebrew side of the Pathfinder 2e community. I thought that was really, really cool. I decided to shoot them a follow that day too. And I think I sent them a raid that day too, because they were streaming that night. And I chilled out for a couple of their streams that I was able to catch, because I think they're in Australian time. And I had, oh, there we go. And I had the screen cap to that as well in the document that I jumped in their stream. I think Jake was in the chat and just wasn't active. I don't remember. I think he just popped in and said that he was popping in, and because I think it was around Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. And I popped in, said hello, things like that. Obscura said that I could always contact him if I ever had questions about Pathfinder, because he remembered that I was curious about it. I had asked where would be a good place to contact you in his chat, and he gave me his Discord invite. That screen cap has that. Now if I hit that link, I cannot join it. It says I'm banned. I learned yesterday when I noticed I wasn't on my Discord server list that I was banned. When I noticed that the server was gone, I went to his Twitch channel and saw that I was banned. If Jake is a prominent watcher of him, and also in his community, because I noticed Jake was in that server too, but I did not engage with him. There are those dots again. I connected them. I have no reason to believe that this person who found me this time, this person found me, would suddenly feel the need to ban me and block me. Because they blocked me on Twitter too. I can no longer follow them. That only happens when someone blocks you on Twitch, which is different from a ban. I have no reason to believe Jake had nothing to do with that. And what made this one really sad is, again, this person found me. This person offered me a chance to communicate with them and to talk with them. And it made me really excited. And that was taken from me. Fuck. Fuck, an hour and a half, guys. Fuck. And I'm just kind of... I didn't go to work today because I didn't really get to sleep. This whole thing made me sick to my stomach. So because you all know I work really early in the morning, there was no way I could go to work with this in my head, with how sick it made me feel. The whole time, I'm just thinking, I'm just trying to learn a game and be a part of communities. And I'm being ostracized actively. Someone is trying to keep me away from them because they feel like I don't belong there, or they feel like the only reason I care about this game, about learning this game, is in spite of them. They think that like anything I do is an attempt to stalk them, but I don't care. I don't care. When all this was happening, I kept streaming. I kept doing things because I love doing this. I enjoy it. I didn't want all that bullshit to stop me because I really enjoy doing this, and I didn't think it was fair to suddenly want to quit or anything like that, because I don't want to quit. And I still want to keep learning this stuff because these games are fun, and they were something that my friends also do that I want to be able to talk to them about and learn and get better and maybe play a game with them. And I don't get to do that because this person is just hates me so fucking much. And I don't know, it sucks. I'm just trying to exist at this point. I've been doing my own thing. I don't care about what they do. I've not even bothered. I don't even care enough to block them. I don't care. Like, the fact that Jake even went out, the fact that Jake went so far as to randomly Twitter DM me, like not Twitter DM me, Twitch DM me, like the little Twitch whispers, and I have screen caps of that too, to call me to call me a bitch that lacks basic human decency over a fucking emote that was given as a gift to both of us. I've since talked to the artist and been like, hey, can I use this emote as like a sub emote? And they were like, go ahead, girl, you can do it. It was a gift, it's for both of you. And then proceeded to also give me polo wah. So guys, this emote, I was called a bitch with no basic human decency over. They felt the need to harass me over an emote and then block me on Twitch. Because, and I have the screen caps and I don't want to name the streamer, but unless I censored their entire stream. So don't bother. Don't bother that streamer if you know who they are by the appearance of the model. Someone was saying some silly stuff, and I said some silly stuff, and I replied with a little wiggle, and then suddenly this dumb DM of like, hey, I know you're like too busy being a bitch or something. I don't even remember what they said at the moment. I'm like so flustered. What did they say? It was so stupid. Yeah, I know being a bitch is your specialty, but try exercising some basic human decency. Yeah, he messaged me, hey, can you not use my emote in your subs? That's kind of fucked up, please and thanks. To which I said, funny, I don't recall you ever paying for it because it was a gift. Because he didn't pay for it. But no, then he proceeds to say, funny, and yet not yours. I know being a bitch is your specialty, but try exercising some basic human decency. So, can I be, like, petty for, like, 5 seconds? Can you guys just spam, if you have a subscription, can you just spam that gallon wiggle? Can you just spam it for me? Just spam the fuck out of it for me. Because I'm a bitch lacking basic human decency. Over an emote. Thanks, guys. Thanks. The only reason I put this emote in my box was because that was the only other reason I was subscribed to them. so that I can use this emote. But because it was made for both of us, I was like, well, I have the permission anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem if I have it. Until it suddenly was. And I've just gotten further confirmation from the artist that it's mine and I can do with it whatever I want. So eat shit. But going back to slight seriousness, I'm just trying to live. I'm just want to be a part of communities and do things. And at this point, I'm kind of just trudging along. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Like I can't do anything involving Pathfinder because if I join a community and Jake just happens to be in it, how long am I going to be allowed before I'm suddenly banned for something I didn't do, for nothing, that I've done nothing? And what kills me about this is that this involves people that have nothing to do with this. Runia the Witch has nothing to do with this. Tabletop Obscura has nothing to do with this. That Final Fantasy Guild had nothing to do with this. I hate that it's dragged people that don't deserve this into this because this person refuses to take accountability for their behavior, because this person doesn't think they did anything wrong, because this person would rather just completely continue to delude themselves and call themselves a victim in all of this. Hello, Civis, and welcome, and I am so sorry that this is what you came into. But and again, I don't want people to go after Jake or Runia or Obscura, especially Runia and Obscura. They didn't do anything. I'm pretty sure that they acted in good faith, and if they are friends with Jake, that they were doing what they thought would be best to protect their friend from what, as far as they know, is their abuser who is stalking them, because I have no doubts that that's what Jake is telling them. That is what ThatDamnCat789 is telling them. And I'm done letting it slide. I don't deserve that. Yes, there are some things I did wrong as a friend. There were some times that I hurt my friend. There were times that I maybe crossed a line or hit a nerve, and there were times we argued. There were times where I apologized for those. I made sure to do better by him. I was always there for him. I was always supportive of him. It's not okay. None of this is okay. I did nothing to deserve anything of this. I might contact you about that, Civis. Thank you so much. But it's not fair. It's not fair. I have had so many relapses and so many mental breakdowns and so many moments. And this whole time, every single one was, I want to go apologize again. Maybe if I just apologize. Maybe if I just let him bitch me out or whatever, maybe he'll come back. Maybe it'll all get better. Maybe it is my fault. Maybe I am this horrible person he says I am. But because that's, for someone to hate me this much, it's like, man, I must have fucked up. But I look back at everything. I talk to everybody who knows and was there, and they all tell me, you did what you could. I don't want anyone to, like, haggle him or anything either. I just want to be left alone. I just want to be able to exist. All over a fucking stupid game. That's it. I might add some things to the document if I get more receipts to add in. I'll be highlighting this VOD. I'll be putting it on YouTube too, probably. I don't know. I can probably just highlight the VOD and keep it on Twitch. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that all this fucking happened. I'm sorry that it got to this point. I'm sorry that that surging shadow went away. I'm sorry. I wish I could have my friend back, but he's gone. And that really sucks. I think that's the part that sucks the most. My friend's gone. My other friends are hurt. And I can't do anything about it. So, one of the reasons I also wanted to do that, this stream, was to kind of hopefully close the door and be done with it. Will things like this maybe still pop up and reference? Maybe. It's a trauma I'm gonna have to live with. I am now so wary about who I give advice to. I am so wary about who I give my time to. I am so wary about who I even give gifts to now, because I'm so scared of it happening again. And yeah, crazy fucks, shit like this is why I also asked you not to buy Jake a VTuber model. As much as you were willing to do that. Because I didn't want him to hold that against you. You're too sweet. You're too sweet, crazy fox. Do I have permission to message you on Discord? If you're part of the Summoners Network Discord, just because, again, I am now also wary about DMs and stuff unless I have explicitly talked to people in the past or have an interest. I'm just a lot more wary. You can always join the Summoners Network Discord and say what you have to say there. If it's just well wishes and stuff, I mean, again, you can write it there. I don't know. I don't want to assume that I am a private DM. You still have to be in a mutual server with me because I have my privacy settings on, so if you join the Discord, then yeah, you can DM me if you wish. I'll probably be DMing Civis. I'll probably be sending you a DM. Do you want me to DM you on Twitter? I'll probably send you a DM on Twitter, and then, or I'll see if I can find your Discord that way. I can probably just DM you on Twitter. I think that's everything. I think that's everything. I was hoping this will only be an hour, but ended up being 2. Twitter works? Okay, I'll send you a DM on Twitter. I'll send you one on Twitter, and then we can go from there. But, again, I don't want anybody getting harassed or anything over this. I don't want to say that I don't think I'm worth that, but I'm just gonna keep doing me. I'm just gonna keep streaming. I'm gonna keep doing what I like doing. I'm gonna keep trying to learn Pathfinder. I'm gonna keep learning how to make sheets and all that silly stuff, because that's what I enjoy doing. I'm having so much fun with that. I'm not letting him stop me with that. If he's gonna keep going around poisoning wells, okay. That's unfortunately going to bite him in the ass sooner than he would expect. I can only hope that, if he catches wind of all of this, that, or his partner, that they are safe. That he doesn't do anything rash. But my hands are clean of that. I just want him to stop. That's all I want. I want him to stop. I want him to leave me alone. I have left him alone since we cut contact. I want him to do the same. He wants to call me a bitch that has no basic human decency. I want him to practice what he preaches. and have some basic human decency and have some courtesy and to treat me with the courtesy that he thinks he's so entitled to. That's all I want. I want to be allowed to exist. So, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for the turnout, for the support. Again, I'm sad that... Thank you for the follow, Zephlon. I'm sorry that these are the circumstances that has caused this much of a turnout. I'm really grateful for everybody that comes here, whether you lurk, whether you subscribe or you follow or anything, whether you just watch my VODs. Like, I'm just happy that people are here. I love making people laugh. I love making people smile. That's what I care about the most. That's why I do this. I don't care about the number. I don't care about the money. I have a job. I started doing this because I wanted people to hang out with. I was lonely and I like entertaining. That's why I do this. I don't go into streaming because I think I can make a living and avoid work like Jake does. That's why he streams. Because he wants people to give him money. So, I think that's it. I'm not gonna rate anybody. I don't think that's appropriate. I just hope that everybody enjoys their night. I hope if you have friends and loved ones that you tell them that you appreciate them, that you love them. I love you guys. I will see you guys maybe Friday for another Pathfinder streamer. Pathfinder stream. And then I'll maybe see you on Saturday. But I think I'm gonna go to bed. So again, thank you all so much for being here. We will return to our regularly scheduled programming on Friday. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.